All right, welcome back to the Omni Wellness Podcast. Co-host Allie, Rico, what's up?
Hello.
So I'm excited. I get to sip on my Alani Witch's Brew during this episode.
We just got that in this week, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
I've had people asking about it. And I'm like, well, Alani, like they'll just cancel flavors that everyone loves just for the sake. So I didn't even know if it was coming back or not.
Well, apparently some places still have it in stock year round. Around here in the Georgia area, it's hard for me to get my hands on. So I think other states, other cities have different distributors that have it. Maybe it's like a contract thing with Alani. But
even when you try and stock up on it, we will still sell out so fast because people buy that stuff by the case.
So yeah, I mean it's one of those things. It's an energy drink. It's 200 milligrams of caffeine. It's not going to hurt you. Zero sugar. This is definitely a better alternative to sipping on a sugar-loaded energy drink. I mean, just energy drinks in general probably are not the best for you, but I get it. It's caffeine. I'm a caffeine junkie.
I am too.
So to me, yes, speaking of kind of what today's topic is about, just small things you can do. So yeah, if you are a person that's sipping on the fully loaded high sugar Monster and Red Bulls, that's the easy switch.
Or if you're going through the drive-thrus at Starbucks and getting the sugar-loaded frappuccinos and gosh, all of that stuff, or you're sipping on fully loaded sugar, soft drinks all day long, that would be a good alternative instead of telling you to just cut it all out and drink water. Like we're talking about baby steps here, low-hanging fruit, as you like to call it. Yeah,
and speaking of low-hanging fruit, in the past, we've collaborated on some episodes, and it's really coming up crazy that before we know it, we're going to be hitting our 1 year mark with this podcast.
Yeah.
And I think our first episode dropped on like December the 22nd. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty cool. We're slowly bumping.
It's coming up.
Yeah.
It'll be here before we know it.
We're about to hit our 40th episode. So appreciate you guys hanging with us.
I know. Thank you.
And it's been a lot of work. Allie can testify. When we first set out to do this, we made a promise that we're not going to skip a week.
Right.
And we haven't skipped a week yet.
We've cut it close sometimes, but
yeah. So
once a week, an episode's dropped. But yeah, a lot of work has gone into this for surely on your part. I mean, knowing what this place looked like when you first got it going, it's just night and day difference. I just love the way that it looks and the equipment and all of that stuff. You've done an amazing job getting this podcast up and going.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a fun learning experience. As frustrating as it is at times, but I like the challenge and I've enjoyed learning. But yeah, in the past we've talked about, I look back and I think about some of the topics we've covered and some of the verbiage I've used, and I've said often a lot of things like take care of the low-hanging fruit, clean things up a little bit. And when we get through recording, I often kind of beat myself up like, well, the new person, the beginner, still is left with like a lot of unknown, probably with questions like,
what is the low-hanging fruit?
What is low-hanging fruit? What is cleaning things up?
Right.
When I talk about, when you go to a restaurant, instead of ordering the nastiest burger off the menu, order something cleaner. Well,
what does that mean?
What does cleaner mean?
Right.
So as you can see, if you're watching this on this particular episode, it'll be uploaded to YouTube as I hope most of our episodes are going to be in the future as we keep advancing with the video portion side of it. But if you're watching this on Spotify or YouTube, you can see our array of products here in front of us, grocery store items. We're going to get into here in a little bit, some of our favorite stuff. So, but yeah, we're going to talk about things that you can do to kind of start easing into a healthier lifestyle, because I think just from working with a lot of people through the years, their mindset is that they know that it's like got to be all or nothing. They feel like, hey, I'm in this gear right now where I know what I'm doing is not working. I'm eating these foods, but I got to go from this to extreme, like.
Right. And I just want people to know that if what you see or what we talk about, if this is something that just doesn't align with the way that you like to eat, like if you're trying to stay away from particular ingredients or whatever, like don't come at anyone for not being a purist on certain things or, ooh, that's bad for you. Like understand that everyone is in a different place in their journey. And not everyone can do the all or nothing thing. Like to tell someone to totally remove artificial sweeteners from their diet, that's a little unrealistic. Like we're trying to ease people in to where if that's a direction that they want to go, where they eventually want to cut out. I'm just going to use artificial sweeteners as a example because that is something that we hear a lot, and I see it in comments a lot on social media. That's what people want to demonize, are the artificial sweeteners. And it is a gradual process for some people. Not everyone can just cut it out. And if you're one of those people that you were able to just totally cut it out, more power to you. High fives to you, but not everyone is like that. So just respect other people and their journeys and where they are on the path.
To me, that's like later on. Like if you're a person that's, got a lot of weight to lose, the last thing you really need to be worried about is artificial sweeteners. Like, it touches on like kind of what me and Brandon discussed on the last episode.
Yeah, which was so good. Which was,
as much as we love to preach whole foods and real foods, and it was kind of a wake up call for me. If a person has an excessive amount of body fat on them, that risk in and of itself outweighs any nutritional type, like artificial sweetener, even food colorings, obviously, unless you have like a sensitivity. But if it takes you, and we're going to get into this in a second, let's just say you are going through the drive-through every morning right now. That's just a habit. No matter how you toss it or turn it, it's a habit. But that, okay, my goal for you would be to make this a lifestyle change, and let's get you like eating something still delicious, but not going through the drive-through every morning, because that's the whole point of this. Is I try to work with people that I work with, my clients, and try to rewire their brain to get out of the habits, because the habits they're currently in is what got them in the shape they're in.
Right. So, it's just momentum that they've created over time. And if you can slow that momentum and offer them a different choice and let them get into the habit of that new choice, then momentum starts to shift. But if we try and just cut everything off, it's going to be too much too soon. So your hand, now these right here, I love these things because I remember taking those with me when I worked at a tax office. I worked at a tax office as a receptionist during tax season, and I was not in the meal prepping mindset. I just wanted to make some healthier choices, and those things are so good. They really are. And I would just take those with me to work, and that's what I would eat. And it worked.
So if you're a person that's going through the drive-thru right now, and you're getting the typical, what's some typical stuff people get, like the sausage, egg, and cheese biscuit with some bow rounds, maybe a sweet tea. You're probably getting in between 600, 800, 1,000 calories just for breakfast. So instead of thinking you got to go from that to eating boring egg whites in the morning and oatmeal,
which sounds great to me, but there was a time when that wouldn't have sounded great. And this,
grab you some Jimmy Dean Delights. So these are English muffin. Good. I mean, even just if you're looking at this, just the sandwiches are delicious. It's got this nice flaky kind of, to me, buttery infused flavored bread. It's got the egg white, the cheese, the turkey sausage, all kind of melted together. So one of these is going to give you 18 grams of protein and right at 270 calories. So, even if you wanted to, if you're a bigger guy, even if you wanted to say eat one of these plus like some fruit, an apple or banana, that's going to be a really filling breakfast that you can slap one of these in the microwave or air fryer on the way out the door and eat this literally as you're driving, and have a banana with it, or a protein shake, and still be probably 300 and 400 calories less than what you were getting at your normal drive-through. And it's a numbers game. And, whether you use keto or Whole30 or intermittent fasting, all we're trying to do is trying to find ways to eliminate and shave off some calories through the day. So if this is what it takes to help that process and get it going, then that's a great tool also. Mm-hmm. And then another breakfast item while we're on it is the Kodiak flapjack pancakes. Oh,
those are so good too. So Kodiak is just a great brand in general. I like to get the flapjack and waffle mix, like the actual dry mix. I know we're talking convenience here. This, of course, would be more convenient, but I just love me a good big Belgian waffle. I love that. So I've got my waffle maker at home, and in fact, that's what I had as part of my breakfast this morning.
Yeah, and if you're a person that is in the stage of your life where you do like kind of getting up and actually putting your hand into some ingredients and cooking, that's great. And sometimes I do.
Yeah, but let me just say, if it had too many ingredients or if it was too complicated, I would not be doing it. So it's literally the powder, a little bit of oil that, yes, I weigh and measure out,
yep,
and some water mixed up, put in the waffle iron, and boom, you're good to go. So it's not too many ingredients, because Lord knows if it had too many ingredients, I just wouldn't do it.
So my breakfast typically is I'll get up and I'll take these Kodiak Power Flapjack pancakes. 3 come in like a little pack, like they're individually little plastic packs inside this box, and it's the serving size. Three pancakes is the serving size, and 3 pancakes gives you 190 calories, 14 grams of protein. So I'll slap these in the toaster or the air fryer, because my toaster only holds like 2 things. So I'll put them in the air fryer while I'm cooking my eggs. So as these things are in the air fryer, getting kind of good and warmed up and a little bit toasted, I know that sounds kind of weird to have toasty pancakes.
No, I like it. You know, well, we're
edges
big on
get kind of toasty,
we're big on texture,
crispy,
so
but
it's like the egg
it.
whites are so super soft that it is nice to have some. I used to put my, I would put my pancakes in the little air fryer at the smoothie shop. I think my little air fryer is still there.
Yep.
But yeah, I like the texture of it.
So as these things are cooking in the air fryer, I'm literally just, I don't mind eggs. A lot of the world does not like eggs, especially egg whites. But the thing with eggs is, I've noticed another thing too. I'll bring up, a lot of people when I first start working with them, they're kind of, I call them a little bit more advanced. They claim they're eating good or getting in protein with each meal, and I'll ask them what they're eating for breakfast, and they're like, "Well, I'll scramble me 2 eggs and have like some fruit." I'm like, "That's not enough protein.
That's just 14 grams of protein.
That's just 14 grams of protein." And the thing with eggs, you got to be careful with. For you to get in 25, 30, 40 grams of protein with just eggs, you would have to eat like half a dozen. But by the time you do that, the calories are going to be up like crazy because of the egg yolk. So that's why people do.
And there's nothing wrong with the yolk.
No, there's nothing
wrong with it. But when you're trying to get your protein up and you're eating whole eggs, it adds up very quickly. So that's where the egg whites come into play. What I used to do was 1 egg and then 4 or 5 or 6 egg whites. Now I get and yes, I used to crack and separate and all that kind of stuff.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but it's just a lot more convenient and quicker to do the cartons of liquid egg whites. And then I'll do my 1 egg, and then I'll do however many grams of egg whites I want to get.
Yeah. So to keep my meal, my personal breakfast, I try to stay around 400 or 500 calories. So as these things are in the air fryer cooking, I'll literally digital food scale. If you're a beginner, you don't have to get a scale, but this is just where we're at in our journey. I'll take that skillet and set it up on top of the digital food scale, pour my liquid egg whites in it. Of course, I spray it first with some nonstick spray, and I'll just pour out, for me, it's like 250, 300 grams of egg whites. Sometimes I will crack a whole egg in there. Sometimes I don't. It doesn't take but a second to scramble these up. I'll usually just let it sit and almost like make an omelet. It'll kind of harden up a little bit.
Yeah.
You fold it over, and they do make like fat-free shredded cheese you can throw in there sometimes, a little bit of salt and pepper, and man, put all that on a dish. I got my pancakes. I'd use Mrs. Buttersworth or Mr. Buttersworth?
It's Mrs.
Sorry, Mrs. Man, okay.
It's not a Mr.
That's the real thick stuff. It's sugar. It's sugar free.
Yeah,
maple syrup, and use that. And it's not much. I mean, it's like 10 calories. By the time you do like an ounce of that.
I'm big into I can't believe it's not butter spray too.
There you go. Oh yeah, that's another thing I'll do to spray that.
Yeah.
A few sprays on the
There's
pancakes.
nothing wrong with that.
No. Granted, you're going to have people listening to this saying, "I can't believe they spray those chemicals on their waffles." But
I know.
whatever.
But you know what?
Whatever. I don't.
Whatever.
I mean, it's just like I used to be a full-fledged hippie. I tell people that. Like, I used to make my own soap. I used to have a garden, have the chickens, my beehives. We would go to Cave Spring and bottle our own water. I had Wi-Fi blockers. Super into that kind of stuff. And I just got to a point where that was a little bit too extreme. And I want to live a little bit, so I found a good balance now.
I just think the important thing is just to let people just be where they are. I remember back in my early 20s, I would discourage people from doing Atkins at that time. Was a very popular diet. And I remember just anyone that talked about Atkins, I mean, I would just go off on these little tirades about why you shouldn't do it. And I remember being in a nutrition class where the professor was like, if someone is doing an extreme diet, why would you discourage them? Like, here's the thing. Why would you discourage someone from trying to make a step in the right direction? It may not be your direction, but why would you discourage someone from trying to eat better for them? So I think that that's what I have come to discover in my old age is just let people be, for goodness sakes. Just let them figure it out. They will. It's not on you to fix and solve what you perceive to be people's problems.
Yeah, and God forbid, I mean, like I said in a couple episodes ago, where in this day and age of TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, you can sit there and scroll, and every fifth one is going to be somebody up on their soapbox bashing, this is why you're fat. This is why you can't lose weight because of artificial sweeteners. The next one you flip through.
Exercises you shouldn't do.
Exercises you shouldn't do. You're doing too much cardio is why you can't lose weight. Vegan is the only way, it's insane. It's so freaking insane.
That's why I can't even be on there. I really can't.
I can't, like a lot of these people that you probably have heard of. Is it Paul Sandino or something like that?
I don't know.
He's a doctor, but he's all about the carnivore diet. And honestly, Lane Norton, will call him out and say, look, Paul's just so extreme with his, you call it niche.
Yeah.
That he can't back out now. That's what he's built his empire on.
Right. He's got his following.
Yeah. So he's got to stay so aggressive in that niche, because that's what he's built his multi-million-dollar brand on. So even if you took him off to the side and off camera, and he would probably be a little bit more chillax, honestly, behind the scenes. And he might even eat some stuff that, he would never show in public.
Right. So that's why it's important, as you're listening and as you're consuming the social media stuff that's out there, just know that everyone's got their thing that they're trying to attract their people. So don't hear what one person says and just think that that's the gospel, because if you're on there long enough, you will find someone who's preaching just the opposite. So you really do have to find what works for you. And this is the trial and error stuff. Like, this is why we're doing this right now, because so many people will say, I'm just going to start on January 1st and I'm going to do this, that, or the other. And then you start the trial and error process. Or you may not know that it's a trial and error process. Yeah. You think that because someone said that you're going to lose 10 pounds in 10 days, that it's just going to work. And then you're waiting until January 1st to do this diet where I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 10 days. And it may work for you, but it may not. And if it does work for you, it may not be sustainable. And by then you're like, oh, well, this didn't work. I guess nothing's going to work for me.
Yep.
Everything out there has worked for someone, or else it wouldn't be out there, even if it worked for that one person who's preaching it. So this is the time. We have 4 months left. You have 4 months to be making some small changes, or to be figuring out what's going to work for you. It truly is a trial and error process. Some people can do the plant-based thing. I'm not one of those people. Some people can do the low carb thing. I'm not one of those people. I had to figure out what worked for me, but I had to go through, I seriously did the keto thing. I did the low carb thing. I did all of those things, and I figured out what works, and I'm still figuring out what works for me, because I'm a totally different person now than what I was before.
Yeah, and speaking of January the 1st, even like people that I'm kind of working with now in my coaching group, how cool is it that they're going to be on January the 1st when the whole world is just getting started? Mm-hmm. People that I'm onboarding now or through the month of September, they're going to be, some of them's going to be 20 and 30 pounds down.
Yeah, they're already
January
building that foundation. They're already getting momentum going in their favor. And that was part of the reason that I started my nutrition journey when I did. I did it right after Thanksgiving, knowing that Christmas was coming up.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to go ahead and have some of these habits in place for when January came along, because I knew that I would probably get caught up in the New Year's resolution, chaos really is what it is. So if you can start figuring some of these things out now and start implementing some of these things, this is the easy stuff. I see it sitting right there. Fiber, getting more fiber in your diet is huge. And I'm going to, thank you. You just handed it to me. Adding fiber to your diet is something that not only will help you feel fuller longer, but it's going to help with just your overall gut health. Like the fiber that enters into your system, it gives the good bacteria in your gut something to feed on. Yeah. And I'm just now diving into the gut health thing, but I'm like, fiber is definitely where it's at. And this is something so super easy that you can do. I've been doing, for me personally, a tablespoon of Metamucil, and it can be the generic brand. It's definitely sugar-free. Doing a tablespoon of this in the morning and a tablespoon of this in the evening. I used to just mix it up in water, about 8 ounces of water, and I would chug it. But then I had a client who told me that she would just let it set and it would congeal, and it makes like an applesauce consistency. If you let it set long enough, it makes like a really thick Jell-O consistency. So I loved that, especially through prep.
The brand you use is Metamucil.
This one only because I got it at Sam's and they didn't have a generic brand, but I was just at Costco the other day, and that's usually where I get it from. They have a generic brand,
but they're all orange, tang flavored.
Yep, they're all orange flavored, and it's still I never know how to say this. I have to actually look at it and like sound it out. It's psyllium husk is what it is.
Yeah.
Is what that is. And you can just get psyllium husk on Amazon, just plain unflavored if you want to. But I like this. It gave me something to like really sink my teeth into, made me feel like I was eating something instead of just drinking something. So I love this. Adding fiber to your diet is something super easy. Oh, I know. Because I used to do this way back when, about 2003. There was a period of time there after my son was born and before my daughter was born where I was wanting to lose the baby weight because I knew that I wanted to have a second child pretty close to the first. So I wanted to find a way to lose that weight to where when I did get pregnant again, I wasn't carrying the weight from the first child.
Yeah.
But I also had gestational diabetes with him. So I started doing a lot of research into how I could prevent that from happening with the second. I mean, it just took me down a whole rabbit hole of, glycemic index and all this kind of stuff, slow digesting carbs and everything. Carbs are not the enemy. And that's where I first learned that. It's just the type of carbs and how they hit your system. So that's where I learned that the more fiber that you have in your meal, the less of an insulin spike you're going to have. Yeah. So it's like if you were to actually take this stuff and put it in water and it gets all congealed, that's what's happening in your stomach. So then when the food hits it, it's got to work itself through all of that.
You're building a firewall.
Yes.
Like a protective barrier.
Yes. Yep. Like it has to work itself through that stuff to get into your small intestines and get absorbed into your body, where if there wasn't any fiber there at all, it would just hit your stomach, go straight to your intestines, straight to your bloodstream. And that's where the insulin spikes come from. So I would do, so now I do a tablespoon morning and night, but back then, and I recommend this to anyone, just a teaspoon in some water, about 15 minutes before your main meals. And you will feel fuller longer just because you've made that one simple change, and you'll get some good fiber in your system. And this stuff is not going to clean you out.
I recommend a teaspoon because I started off with a tablespoon my first round, and it was a little bit too intense for me.
Was it?
Yeah, and I think everybody, because even the instructions say teaspoon.
Yes, you got to do a teaspoon.
Yeah.
Now, I am taking a tablespoon just because it's what was recommended in my nutrition plan by my coach. So I was able to do it. It's no problem at all. But a teaspoon is what I started out with when I was doing it on my own way back 20 years ago. Oh my gosh, that's like forever and a day ago. But it made a huge difference. So I recommend a teaspoon, just to recap, a teaspoon in some water, chug it about 15 minutes before each main meal. And that's one small change that you can be making to get you ready.
Another visual they can think of, like earlier when you were trying to explain how it works in your system, is I think about like a swimming pool, like an in-ground pool, right? If you were to take get on a ladder and drop a bowling ball in that pool, it's going to splash, and then that bowling ball is going to go straight to the bottom.
Yeah.
So imagine that swimming pool all of a sudden is filled with Jell-O. If you go up on a ladder and drop that bowling ball, you're not going to have as much of a splash, aka insulin spike, and that bowling ball may eventually travel through and get to the bottom of the pool.
It may take some time.
Yeah.
And that's what you're wanting. You're wanting to slow the digestion in your body.
Yeah.
And having some added fiber can do that. So that's why I like that so much. And I've had people tell me, wow, you are really passionate about Metamucil. I'm like, I really am. I am. I preach it all day long. I'll recommend it to anyone.
Yeah. And a lot of these, obviously these foods in front of us, they're more towards the, wouldn't you say, the processed side. A lot of them are.
Yeah.
But they're healthier. They're not like what I consider.
They're healthier than what most people are probably eating today. Yes.
So that's the thing, is like, I'm always going to preach whole food. I call them Jesus foods. Like when you ask me, like, what do you consider real food? And I always say, hey, if Jesus had access to it, it was a real food.
Or I say single ingredient
foods, like
single ingredient foods, green beans, chicken, beef.
Right.
Even cheese. Cheese is processed, but you can get away with cheese. Single ingredient foods. Zucchini.
Yeah, so it's like,
not and yeah, I'll use one of these as an example. Let's just use the flapjack thing. Let's just use that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got whole grain wheat flour, whole grain oat flour, wheat protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, brown sugar, milk protein concentrate. Like there's all these things that are in this one package. So eggs, oats, grits.
And you don't see many people eating, the mainstream American diet is definitely far from, yes, even this, but definitely far from single food ingredients. That's unheard of. Like the last time, like, I think most Americans were eating on like single food ingredients were like back in my grandparents' days.
Yeah.
Like that's how far we've came and got away from like what I consider real food. Like that's crazy. Like
that's like what I'm striving for. But I would say right now, especially with where I am as a everyday eating healthy type of person. In other words, I'm not in prep right now. I'm 80-20 at this point, as in 80% single ingredient, 20% things like Kodiak flapjacks.
Yeah, but that don't have to be your first starting out. And I think that's the problem, is people think they have to go from eating a bacon, egg, and cheese to the crazy, or either like a slim fast shake or a crash diet.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up. All this comes in stages. So the very first time that I ever lost a significant amount of weight for me was back when I was 22 years old, and I was wanting to fit into a wedding dress and look the way that I wanted to look. I remember going wedding dress shopping. I just didn't look the way that I wanted to look. I had put on 15 pounds, and not that I was ever super heavy to begin with, but nobody ever accused me of being thin or slender or skinny or any of those adjectives that all mean the same thing.
Right.
No one even described me as fit back then. I just looked normal. I don't know. I hate to even say normal. I didn't look like one extreme or the other. I was just middle of the road, I would guess, or I would say. So when I wanted to lose that weight, I did do Slim Fast. So that's funny that you bring up Slim Fast. That for me at that time in my life was a step in the right direction. And yeah, I did the shake for breakfast, the shake for lunch, and a sensible dinner. And I added snacks in between. Yeah. But my snacks were broccoli and carrots, raw broccoli and carrots that I would bring to class with me. It was a can of tuna that I would have. That was a step for me. And from there, I just started making little swaps, whatever. Because, I mean, let's be honest, the Slim Fast thing, it worked, but it wasn't sustainable for me. So I had to do a little more research and figure something else out. So that's what we want to get across to you if you're in that space where you're like, well, I can't eat single ingredient foods. You don't have to. Just find something that you can do and stick with it long enough, because that's ultimately what it comes down to is, can you stick with something long enough?
Yep. So what me and Brandon talked about is super, super beginner level, like crawl before you walk is the biggest thing is prepping, planning for the week ahead, because so many people, it takes a lot of work to break you from your habits that you formed that's got you where you're at. So you're going to have to make some changes.
Oh, and I love how people in your group,
things don't change.
People that you work with, I love how they're prepping.
So yeah, you got people that's willing to go kind of all in and make the sweet potato and chicken and broccoli, and that's great. But don't think that's the only way to get started. So your prep, you're going to have some people, and you might resonate with what I'm about to say if you're listening. You grew up with parents that did not instill any health at all in your life. Like you don't. Yeah,
they just didn't know.
You don't even know, like, when's the last time you even cooked like a chicken breast or had a sweet potato, like other than like sweet potato souffle at Thanksgiving dinner. Like you're so far away from like the image of health that it seems like a whole nother planet for you. Like and it's not even your fault. It's how you were raised. It's just the gear that you've been in all these years. So how do you go from that to where you want to be, 100 pounds lighter or whatever, better blood work, coming off insulin, getting your blood pressure down? There's a huge gap there. So the biggest advice I can give is sit down and come up with a plan that doesn't revolve around a lot of fast food. So like you see all this stuff in front of us. So I don't care if you have to go just carve out like 30 minutes or Instacart it. Get these items in your house. That way,
have these for dinner.
Yeah. So like, instead of going through fast food every morning. Okay. So these come in a 4-count. So obviously you would probably need to go ahead and grab 2 boxes to get through a week. All right. These come out to be about $2 each. So not only is that going to save you money, but 270 calories. Eat a banana with it. That's your breakfast. Okay. You need to write that down. That's my breakfast. I'm going to do that, from this point on until I get just burnt out. And then for a snack, are you a snacker? Maybe you just need to work in some more protein. All right. So around that 10 o'clock hour that morning while you're at the office, instead of grabbing the Skittles or the mints on the guest table in the waiting area or whatever you have in your drawer, crackers, cheese crackers, whatever you got, get rid of that and get you a case of Fairlife.
Those things are shakes. So good. Those are the 42. Best tasting protein drinks that I have ever tasted. 42
grams of protein right there. Then again, if you're a person that still likes to eat something, have you apple with this. Have you a banana. You're still going to be better off than that pack of crackers or whatever you're eating for a snack.
Yes.
Candies, York peppermint patties, whatever you're grazing on through the day that you have at your office. Lunch. Ask yourself, what do you normally do for lunch? Are you going out with coworkers? And I get it, because sometimes that's a mental break away from the office. If you need to go out to eat, all right, restaurants, you can really choose a restaurant that's going to have a menu that's dedicated for 500 calories or less. Applebee's, Chili's does a great job with this. Just know that you need to keep your lunch under 500 calories and revolve it around a protein source.
Yes.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yep.
So
Grilled chicken
salad.
Yep.
Just go easy on the dressing. Ask for it on the side.
Ask for it on the side.
Because like Brandon said in the last episode, I've never even really looked at how much calories are in like a cup or
it's a lot.
the serving that restaurants give you.
Yeah.
He's claiming that it can almost have 1,000 calories for the whole cup.
Yes.
So definitely that's where a lot of people screw up on the salads is you do it with the dressing. So ask for it on the side and get some kind of fat-free honey mustard or Italian. So just you can still go out to eat lunch, but just revolve it around. Try to figure out what's 500 calories or less. You can't go wrong with greens, lettuce, grilled chicken salad, a wrap, mid-afternoon snack, same thing. You can have another shake. Have a pack of, I have these 100-calorie nut packs. So these come already portion controlled, which is huge for me because I can't do whole bags of healthy stuff. Like if for me, and I always talk about
I just keep eating.
So these are 100-calorie nut packs. So you could even do 2 if you're a bigger guy, and just let that be it. That's all you bring with you, and you just know that 2 is a serving. But like me, man, people will go buy like healthy foods like this, and they'll buy the big bag, and they'll just munch on it. It's just like
like popcorn.
You don't even think about it. It don't take much. Nuts are not I call them risky foods. Stuff like pork rinds, nuts, peanut butter.
Just calorie dense
chicken salad
stuff.
A lot of my clients, when I first start working with them, I'll ask, "What do you normally do for lunch?" And they're like, "Oh, I just usually get get some chicken salad for lunch, and a few crackers." And they get it from like Chicken Salad Chick, and I'm like, that scoop of chicken salad or 2 is going to have 600-700 calories.
Oh,
and
just the mayonnaise that's in it.
Yeah,
because they're not cutting corners on the mayo. This is fully loaded
and
mayo.
And they're adding like little pieces of like pecans and almonds in there too. And then and then you're eating your crackers. How many crackers are you eating? Get real with yourself. like 5 packs, 10 packs. So you could be having 1,000 calories. So just keep in mind, chicken salad, pork rinds, nuts are all risky moves. So
nut butters,
revolve.
Oh my God, Lord knows. I just had to get it out of the house.
Yeah. And then for dinner, man, same thing. Just try to revolve everything around like a good carb source, rice.
Those healthy choice meals,
healthy choices.
They're so good. And these are things, because I'm not that mom that cooks for her kids. Like my kids just know this, and one of them is not super happy about it, and I'm just not going to do it.
Well, at one time you probably did.
When they were little, I did. But the older they got, and I got into, my single mom life, I just didn't have the energy for it. It was a lot of frozen pizzas. Yeah. It was going through fast food. So I totally get that. But the older that they got, they were starting to be able to cook for themselves. So what I would do was just have the healthy ingredients in the house for them, and they would fix their own meals. And it's kind of cool to see the things that they come up with. For my daughter, she really wanted healthier options. She asked me for that. She wanted healthier options. So I would do the healthy choice meals, and I would make sure that there were some different ones in the freezer for her, and she could just cook those up herself. So that's something that you can keep in mind, especially, if you're super, super busy and just on the go, and you've got your family going and all this stuff. I mean, I get it that it can be super busy. It's going to take these small changes, and it's okay to rely on things like a healthy choice meal. Come by Spartan Smoothies, and we've got ideal meals right there in the fridge, but you'll want to get there Sunday or Monday because they tend to go fast. But I would do that for my kids too. And all they have to do is just heat it up. Yeah.
This healthy choice meal, I didn't even know this existed, but like it's grilled chicken, broccoli Alfredo. Just pop in the microwave. It's 190 calories for 28 grams of protein.
Yeah.
That's a good ratio.
It is.
I love that.
And a lot of what they'll do is they will go heavier on the protein source, and they'll go lighter than you would on the sauce. So they're more portion controlling for you, which is what Ideal Meals does as well. They're just portion controlling. Instead of you going over there and throwing a bunch of sauce on there, they're giving you more of what you need and less of what you don't.
Yeah, and then if you're back on the work environment, if you're a person that wants to bring your lunch to work, these are great. If you
My
got a
son would do
microwave in
that.
the break room,
Yep.
buy you 5 of these. So then again, preparing for the week. What's the saying I always use? If you're not failing to prepare is preparing to fail.
Yes.
That's how it goes.
Yes. So
And-
Bose would take those and he would just pop that in the microwave at work. Bose is my son, and that's what he would do. So it's something that it's just easy. You want to make this as easy on yourself as possible. Don't make this any more complicated than it needs to be. Throw all the rules out the window. I'm real big on there's nothing in the rule book that says ... fill in the blank. There's nothing in the rule book that says that you've got to have this single ingredient, meal prepped, perfect food. Do what you can until you're able to do more. And then when you can do more, do it.
Another really quick, and some people's going to love this, some people hate it. I actually have a lot of my male clients on this. They just want to grab something super quick out the door and drink it. So it's like a form of overnight oats, but you drink them. So you preload a shaker cup. You just take you a shaker cup or whatever you want to use. And one of my favorite concoctions that they're talking about amongst my males that I got to try is they'll get like a caramel flavored Premier protein shake.
Yeah.
It's like a seasonal thing.
Those are so good.
And they'll actually pour that into a shaker cup and dump 1 pack of apple cinnamon reduced sugar Quaker oats. It's got the little apple pieces. They'll dump that in the shaker cup, shake it up, right? By the time they get out to their truck, it's already kind of softened up the oats enough and the fruit pieces to where they can drink this awesome concoction of caramel apple breakfast as they're driving down the road.
Well, that is just genius.
And you get like 40 grams of protein, you get your oats, the good carbs. So it ends up being like a 300 something calorie overnight oat drink.
I'm loving that idea.
So
I love that. And on that same topic, since you're talking about your guys, for the ladies out there that love their iced coffees in the morning, one of the things that I've heard that they'll do, and I've done this myself, is fix your coffee at home, okay? Or you can do what I've done and just go get you a black iced coffee from your favorite coffee shop. Don't get anything else in it, and pour it in another cup, and then pour your protein drink, whatever it may be, pour that in there. I'll use it as my creamer. I'll use those protein drinks as the creamer, but people that really like to have that flavored iced coffee, they'll use just plain black iced coffee, and then they'll do one of those shakes.
Because you know as well as I know, a lot of your females, a lot of their breakfast is coffee.
Yes.
And creamer and something kind of sugary. So
because they're getting, and I get it, they're getting the kids up and going, and sometimes they may have a supportive husband / dad, and other times they don't. Most times it really is on the female's shoulders to get everybody ready for the day. So I totally understand that getting down there and fixing breakfast for yourself just seems totally just alien to you.
So still keep your coffee. Just add some protein to it. Try to find a way
or
to get in 30.
with that that I love that idea of the oatmeal packets with a protein drink in it to soften it up. I love that idea.
Yep. And you saw me do something similar while we were doing all your shows in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
I would mix my own. I buy the oatmeal cups.
Yes.
Down in the lobby.
I was jealous.
Yeah, in the hotel. A lot of hotels will have like little food shops and have like little single serve oatmeal cups. Same thing. And they'll even have a lot of times protein shakes. So you can literally take a shaker cup or whatever you got and add the protein to it, shake it up, eat some. So you can make it work. Another one of my favorite power sandwiches you can do for lunch is take these. They're made by Arnold. They're called keto thins. So one thin is going to be around 100 calories, 12 grams of protein. So you take that little thin sandwich, slap on 3 or 4 slices of deli meat.
Yeah.
I love boar's head. I buy the packs
I do
that's
too.
already sliced.
Yeah.
You can get buffalo flavored or just regular flavored.
That's my version of fast food, by the way.
Yeah, and even if you want to use just a dab of light mayo, even if you want to just use a little bit of real mayo.
Or if you like avocado, that's been my thing.
Yeah.
Seriously, this is my fast food is I'll find a Publix or somewhere that has boar's head already cut up. Ingles does, Kroger does, and I will go in there and grab a package of that, and I'll get the little mini cups
they're perfect.
of avocado, and I'll just roll up the turkey, and then I'll dip it in the avocado. Sometimes I'll go to the rice cake aisle, and I'll just get the lightly salted rice cakes, and I'll make like a open face sandwich, if you will.
Yeah.
And I love that idea.
So between the sandwich, having that deli meat on there, and yes, grabbing you some kind of like little mini guac cup that you can just take with you, and I'll dip my sandwich in it.
And it's portion controlled,
And
which is why I like it too.
Quest chips for your crunch. So the bag of Quest chips in of their self is going to have around 20 grams of protein.
Yeah, I love those Quest chips.
5 carbs for the whole bag.
I don't think I've tasted a flavor that I don't like. I definitely have my preferences of ones I like better, but I don't think they have a bad bag of Quest chips. Hand me the PB Fit right there. PB Fit, PB2, powdered peanut butter. So this stuff I love. What they've done is they've dried it out, extracted the fat from it to where you're just left with the powder. So you're going to be left with the carbs of peanut butter, and you're going to be left with the protein of peanut butter. Now, I'll go off on my little tangent here. Peanut butter is not a protein source.
It's a fat source.
It is a fat source. And even with the powdered peanut butter, this can still be dangerous as well. This is why I definitely recommend measuring this out in some way that you can hold yourself accountable. I use a food scale, super easy to use, but I will measure this out. And this has so many uses. So what I love, what you do is you mix water in it, is what it recommends. But what I like to do is I like to take my chocolate core protein drink, and I like to use that as the liquid source, and I'll do chocolate, and it just takes, I'm telling you, it just takes I'll do 2 servings. I'll do 2 servings of the PB2, PB Fit, whatever you've got. 2 servings is going to end up being 100, 120 calories, just about 2 ounces of the core chocolate protein drink. And that's just going to add, I don't know, maybe 20 or so calories there. And then I'll use that. I do so many things with it. I will spread it on a rice cake. Last night, I did an apple. I was craving apples. I can't remember the last time I've had an apple. I
saw you eating that.
And I was really craving apples the other day. And I was like, I'm going to get me a nice Honeycrisp apple. And I just cut it up, salted it. Yes, I love salted apples. And I used this to dip my apples in. And it was so good. Yeah. So if you have a sweet tooth, this is a great option. Keith loves to do, what is it that you do, your Greek yogurt at night?
Yeah, so
I think you've got one.
Where do we put it? Oh, yeah. These.
You could put this in there.
Yeah, the ratio protein yogurt cups. So these are 25 grams of protein. It's the most smoothest vanilla I've ever tasted. And you can actually take these, and sometimes I'll put blueberries in them. I'll put some frozen raspberries. And then recently I've discovered the Catalina Crunch cereal, and they make that in chocolate, all kind of different flavors. So this is a maple waffle, and just a half a cup of this stuff is only 100 calories, 11 grams of protein. So I mean, if you put a half a cup of this in with this 25 gram of yogurt, protein yogurt, you're going to be at over 30. You can be 36 grams of protein right there, just in a little snack, crunchy, yummy vanilla snack.
And if you're wondering why we focus so much on the protein is, out of all the macronutrients, which include protein, fat, carbohydrate, it's going to be the one to make you feel the most satisfied.
Yeah.
It takes the longest to break down in your body. And I heard this the other day, take this for what it's worth, I totally believe it, is that it's the macro that's least likely to be stored as fat.
Yeah.
So we focus a lot on protein because just increasing your protein intake is going to help you in the long run when you're trying to shed some excess body fat.
Yeah. So Shane Shane Hunt, my old powerlifting coach, actually put out an article that he thought was fascinating. That they took and Lane Norton may have touched on this. They took a group of people and that was already kind of aware of their calories, right? And they kind of knew they were striving to stay within a certain body weight. Well, they purposely increased that group's protein up to like 400 grams a day. So like, and their calories went up as well, but it only went up with protein calories. So technically on paper, these people should be in like a calorie surplus. Mm-hmm. Like 3 months went by and nobody put on any body fat. They actually, most of them increased lean muscle mass and dropped body fat.
Wow. And the only thing that changed was the increase in calories from protein.
So it's almost like the protein, even though on paper they were supposed to be in a calorie surplus, and then in this world of science, when you're in a calorie surplus, you're supposed to technically quote quote gain weight. That didn't happen with these people. Like it's almost like of course they were using, I think, more good sources of protein.
I was just about to say, we're not talking about a bunch of protein powders here.
No, like, it was mostly coming from real food. Maybe with a couple of shakes and stuff like that, but a lot of chicken. You know.
Sometimes it's necessary to supplement when you're trying to get your protein up. Like I definitely use protein powder in my diet to get my protein up, which is well above 200 grams of protein a day at this point. But most of my stuff does come from lean chicken, lean beef, egg whites, whitefish. It's coming from that. And then the little protein sources, say from the PB2 or whatever it is that I'm eating, all that counts. It's your total protein.
So if you do, I'm a numbers person. So if your goal is, let's just say your goal is 200 grams of protein per day. All right. And you want 75% of your calories to come from, or protein to come from real sources. So times 75%. So that's 150 grams of protein needs to come from real foods. The other 50 grams can come from a shake or two or a protein bar.
And that's usually, let's see, I will do it around my workout, which is first thing in the morning, and then I do it right before I go to bed. So I will do 2 scoops of protein a day, but the rest of it is coming from single ingredient food sources.
Yep. I got them in my lap here. These are awesome too.
I want to get some of those for our trip.
Austrian beef sticks.
They're
we
so
sell
good.
these at Spartan. You can get them on Amazon.
And I don't even like beef jerky or beef sticks.
Each one's got 14 grams of protein and only 90 calories.
Yeah,
so
because it comes from ostrich.
Literally 2 of these. You eat 2 of these, you're bumping 30 grams of protein in less than 200 calories. That's mind blowing. Like, that's crazy. Have these in your desk at work instead of freaking whatever you got.
And we have them at Spartan Smoothies in so many different flavors. I don't know. It's like 6 different flavors, I think.
Buffalo.
You can buy them by the box.
Yep. So it's, like I said, we're showing you, obviously, hopefully at the end of this episode, you're going to see that it doesn't take extreme. You can still enjoy foods, and let these be a tool to bridge that journey you want to take to better yourself.
Yes. And what a wonderful time it is that we live in to be able to make these food swaps out. Because I can tell you, much of this stuff was not on the market when I was first starting my journey. No.
Yeah, she's got something else too. We're going to touch on
like
condiments
these sauces,
and sauces.
Yes. Yeah. These sauces were not around when I was coming up. And I love them so much. The G. Hughes sauces. And he's got an entire line. This one right here, these are the barbecue sauces. This one is the hickory flavored, but there's a honey, there's a sweet barbecue, there's a spicier one. That's a Carolina. There's a sweet chili. Oh my gosh, that one is so good. There's a ketchup, there's a honey mustard. And what I like to do, because I was not someone that liked a lot of sauces until I started eating more of the plainer single ingredient foods. And I don't season my foods. Like, I know people really came down hard on you.
That seems to be people are passionate.
People are very passionate about their seasonings. I'm a salt and pepper kind of girl. Okay. I try doing other seasonings and they just don't agree with me.
Yeah.
I don't like the taste of them. So if you like to season your foods, please, by all means, season your food. I'm not one of those people. I do like to have my salt and pepper, and I like to have sauces. So, but I do have to be mindful of the sauces, just like I have to be mindful of dressings, right?
Yeah.
So this is where measuring things out. Yes, I weigh this out because 30 grams is going to sneak up on you real quick. That's 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons of sauce is going to sneak up on you.
Yeah.
Those calories are going to add up fast. So I like to be a little more controlled with my sauces. So what I'll do is I will weigh out 30 grams of whichever sauce that I'm using. And they all usually run about 30 grams per serving. We're only talking 10 calories, 0 grams of fat, 2 carbs, no protein. So the calories are coming from those carbs.
Yeah.
So I do want to be mindful. I want to be mindful of them because I'm not trying to undo anything by just because I'm doing a sugar-free, sauce. So what I will do, because I want the volume of it, is I will mix this with Frank's hot sauce, or I will mix this with some good old mustard. I was not a mustard eater either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I discovered that I like to eat when I was in prep, and it's serving me well now that I'm in my off season. But I will build that volume up to where I make the sauce go longer. Another thing that I've seen a lady do is she will pour half of the bottle into another jar or something that she can close up and put in the refrigerator, and then she will fill the rest with water. Like, that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
You've got to get the consistency just right, but I have done that before and it does work. But there's even tricks to the tricks that you can do. But these sauces, you can find them with the other sauces, but there's so many. There's even dressings. Chelsea posted something today where she has a client who was eating the dressings. So with the dressings, there's just going to be more fat. I think each of them have 6 grams of fat, and that's just not something I was wanting to do. But if I wanted to, I would for surely go find the G. Hughes salad dressings.
Yes, I had posted a video a few months back of me throwing some chicken in a crock pot to show people how easy it is.
Because it really is so easy.
You got you a slow cooker. Even if you don't, get one off Amazon for like $15-20. The one that kind of like you can choose 4 hours, 8 hours, and then when it automatically gets through, it goes to warm mode by itself. And that's what I wish ours had. I'm going to upgrade ours, I think, soon. But I just throw my chicken breast in there, and I got so many comments on, hey, you didn't add any bone broth or
what kind of liquid? No, the chicken produces its own liquid, people. Just put your package of chicken breast in your slow cooker.
So that was
turn it on
the
low.
bulk of the comments. And then the next bulk, thousands of comments, people were like just shocked at like it was against the law. Like I committed a crime that I didn't use some kind of seasoning. And so many direct messages to me, not knocking anybody that's listening to this that did message me, but the amount of messages that were sent to me in my inbox.
Like they feel like they're saving your life or something.
Dude, hook that up with some blah, blah, blah. I'm like, A, it's none of your business.
Thank you.
And then B, like, what if I don't want my whole week's worth of chicken that I'm going to be using for multiple dishes to taste like freaking whatever you're telling me to season it with? Right. The whole point of batch cooking my meat is to have it for different uses, to put on my flatbread pizzas, to throw in an egg omelet, to whatever, have by itself with some sweet potato. And I can choose my sauces. I might not want whatever seasoning combined with sugar-free honey mustard or barbecue. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I thought that was kind of funny. That was the people's biggest concern, and then the fact that people thought I was going to get salmonella for not washing my hands, turning the dial. I'm like, look, I was making a video. Like it was hard to I didn't. So I'm good.
It's
I promise you.
The whole point. It's like people miss the whole point because they're trying so hard to be right about something.
Yeah.
It's like, if you want to be that right about something, fine, I'll give that to you. But give this chicken method a try and then let me know what you think. But they won't do that because they want so badly to be right about everything else that they feel like you've done wrong.
Yeah, just like I'm right now. I'm currently enjoying the entertainment taking place on my recent alcohol video. Just talking about alcohol in general, how I'm not going to sit here and say I'll never drink again, but it's not part of my weekly or daily life.
There's just not room for it.
I just was making a simple video saying, hey, A lot of people worry about alcohol calories, and yes, it does add up, but there's way more to it than just calories. That it truly does can throw off your hormones and your blood work if you drink it consistently. And oh my gosh, the amount of people right now, it's up to like 30,000 views, and the amount of people that's fighting so hard to and justifying ways to keep it in their life, it's mind blowing.
Like I know they'll fight hard for it. They will. I fought hard for it.
Like and like it goes back to what you said earlier. They're latching on to some article they found on Google. You can find anything if you look hard enough on Google, you can find a message that aligns with what you want to believe or preach about.
Yes.
So like they're latching on to one article they found from some website that says drinking a glass of wine every night is actually healthy for your heart, and stuff like that. So
I can't even. I can feel myself already, like my blood pressure rising, my blood starting to boil over all of that
stuff like that. And then anyway, that can be a different topic. Maybe if I have Brandon back one day, and me and Brandon didn't even touch on alcohol, did we?
It would be a wonderful topic to get into. So when he comes
back for round 2, we'll touch on that.
I just wish I were a little more educated, as in, like, I know this stuff in my head, but to be able to say it in a way that other people could understand, I'm not there yet. So I just have enough of a visceral reaction to hearing these things to know that.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. Like, I just know that it's way beyond calories, and for the people that have tried to make it fit and they truly cut it out of their life, they've truly seen a lot of changes. Like,
I used to measure. I tell you, I measure my sauces. I would measure my vodka.
Try to make it work.
Yes, I would factor it all in. Measure my vodka. I would even measure my wine, because a serving of wine is, I think, 5 ounces. A serving of hard liquor like vodka is 1.5 ounces. I know these things because I did all the research on them, because I was trying so hard to keep it in my diet. But here's the thing, is that I'm sure there are some people that could just stick to their 1.5 ounces of vodka. I was not one of those people. 1.5 ounces turned into much more over time.
Yeah, and I always use one of our good friends. I won't mention her name, but she's been a huge fan of us and the store, and she would sign up for all of our 8-week Spartan challenges in the past. And I noticed kind of a pattern with her. And every time she would come in, I would kind of almost feel bad for her, because I knew that we weren't going to see changes.
Yeah.
But she just stayed still for almost 2 years, it seemed like. And I was like, oh my gosh, it seems like she's trying, and she's showing up all these challenges, and she's doing all the right things, it seems. What's going on? Like, maybe she does need to get blood work or something. Like, something's kind of broke, in my opinion. To me, she should have been seeing way more results than the effort she was putting in. So I didn't see her for 4 months, and she came back in, and oh my gosh,
like night and day.
Like, face is glowing, hair looks better, skin looks better, she's more shapely. It's like, whoa, like, what the heck happened? And I actually just asked her point blank. We sat down and I said, look, I know for a long time you didn't see any changes. Like, what's going on? Like, what switch flipped? She point blank looked at me and said, I removed the alcohol from my life.
Yeah.
She was trying to...
It makes that big of a difference.
To outwork, out-train, out-diet, out-whatever the nightly drinks, the wine, the half a bottle of wine, the full bottle of wine.
So again, we're not telling anyone to cut it out of your life unless you feel in your heart that that's something that you need to do. But leading into this season of cooler weather, bonfires, you've got holidays coming up, and with that comes its fair share of alcohol drinking. And you just have to take our word for it without getting into the science behind it. It's going to do more harm if your goal is fat loss, if your goal is muscle gain, if your goal is body recomposition. It's going to do more harm than you think it's doing. So something that you can do is just decide when it is that you're going to imbibe.
Yeah.
When are you going to do it? What are you going to consume? You can look at these things ahead of time, and you can decide for yourself how often you want to indulge. You don't have to indulge every single time. And it's none of anyone's business if you decide you're not going to have anything to drink. I was someone that if I was going into a situation knowing that these are people that I usually drink with, I gave them a heads up ahead of time. I was like, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm not going to be drinking. No, I'm not pregnant. Because people always want to think that. Not that it's anyone's business and that they even deserve an explanation, but there were some people that I felt like I would feel better going into the situation. Yeah. And you know what their reaction was? They really didn't care. They really didn't. And a lot of times when you go into a situation and you tell someone you're not drinking and they're like, oh, come on. Or, you know, well, how much are you drinking? Like if they want to start asking all these questions, it has nothing to do with you. It has to do with you're holding a mirror up in front of them that's making them look at how much they're drinking. It has way more to do with them and it has nothing to do with you. So you make the decision for yourself and you walk your confident self into whatever situation you're going into and you stick to your guns, and I guarantee you will feel better for it in the long run. Just make your decision one way or the other. Don't go into it being all wishy-washy, because that's where things get really crazy. And that goes for anything as far as what we've talked about today, how you're going into a situation, how you're wanting to eat. So if you go into someone's house where you're used to eating a bunch of calorie dense food and you turn something down and the people around you want to say, oh, we'll just have one bite, or one bite won't hurt you, or one slice won't hurt you. It has nothing to do with you. You're holding a mirror up to them saying, well, I've already had a piece and I want one more. And then they start to kind of question. They're worried that you're judging them. It's so much deeper. There's so many layers there. So just make your decision of what you're going to do, know what direction you want to go, and stick to it.
Yeah, and speaking of the house you may be going to with the quote bad food, honestly, if you're a new person and you're along your journey, trust me, you're gonna, as you go through your week, if you're swapping out some of these breakfasts we've talked about with something healthy in your lunches, and you're putting in efforts, and God forbid you do go to a weekend party, have you a slice of cake, have you a slice of pizza. If you know. I want people to learn that it's okay to still, quote, mess up or have a little bit of, quote, bad food, but still make progress.
Yeah.
I have so many people that come in for their monthly check-ins that are so down on themselves. They're like, I'm not going to see any changes this month. We went to Florida for a week. You know, we had COVID for a week. But yet they do. They still see a significant drop in body fat. They've even put on some muscle. The pictures look different. And it's always a cool moment when that light bulb goes off in their head like, wow, you know, I don't have to be perfect.
No.
To see progress.
No.
So that's what's cool is don't go into it expecting perfection. Don't go into it putting so much pressure on yourself and thinking about these environments you might get in. Do good through the week. Do control what you can control when you can control it. And then a lot of times it is the weekends that kind of get away from you. But you know, if you're at a birthday party and it's a celebratory type event and your kids turning 16, have you a piece of cake.
And enjoy it.
And enjoy it and just get back on track the next day. It's not going to kill you, I promise. You're
not doing yourself any favors by feeling guilty and beating yourself up. Self-compassion is going to be your number one ally, and it's going to come from within. It's going to come from you.
To tie in what she was talking about, yes, like say if there's been times where it's through the week, like, you know, you've had your kind of fun food on like a Saturday or Sunday birthday party, but then say Tuesday night comes around and you got like this one-off event for an anniversary or whatever, and you're in an environment where somebody is kind of offering you some food, that's when you do got to set some boundaries and have some of those, like, I guess you could say, uncomfortable vibes that she was talking about earlier.
There's a big difference between your own kid's birthday cake and your second cousin's child birthday
there
cake.
You go. Yeah, it's not worth.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
Well, you may be very close to your second cousin's child. If that's the case, then fine, eat your cake.
Just like that movie we watched last night. What did the guy, Adam Sandler, said, The whole family was getting ready, getting all jazzed up, and he's just wearing like a flannel shirt. And the
He had a Hawaiian shirt on.
The wife's like, "You're wearing that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know the kid. I'm not wearing a suit."
That's hilarious.
That was awesome.
I can't believe that came to your mind because
What was
it's so true.
the movie called?
It was called "You Are So Not Invited to My Bat Mitzvah."
Yes,
is what it was called.
Jewish family, and
yes,
it was a fun movie.
It's like if they don't really mean anything to you,
Yeah.
in that, are they worth the cake? Ask yourself that.
Yeah.
Is this event worth the glass of wine?
Yeah.
Is this event worth the second glass of wine? Ask yourself these questions. It's okay to question yourself.
Yeah.
It's not okay for someone else to question you, but it's okay for you to question yourself.
Yes, and I want to close out one last question for you. I meant to ask you earlier. What do you do? What do you recommend? What's your advice for these women that, say, if you're a female or even a male? I have a guy that seems to do a lot of the cooking for the family in my group. What do you do if you're a male or a female? And I want you to talk to most female because I think the females are the most or more the ones that's doing the family kind of cooking and grocery shopping. What do you do? What do you recommend what's the advice for a family? Like if you're a woman that's on a mission to get better her life, and let's just say you got youngins that's like under 10 years old, and you got a husband that's not really going to be on board with it, as much as you would love for him to be on board with it, he's still going to expect his chicken, his steak and gravy, whatever for dinner. How do you manage cooking almost like 3 different types of food? What would be your advice? Because I think that's where a lot of people get hung up. They're like, I have no idea. Like, how am I supposed to make my healthy meal, satisfy the kids and my husband? Or can you do it all? I think you can do it all with some cool recipes, right?
So you want to make it as easy on yourself as possible. Okay. Now, I grew up in a house where my mom did cook for everybody. And when she was focused on her own goals, she would fix herself something separate from the rest of the family.
Cool.
If it was something extreme, like she was a single ingredient food kind of person.
So
and there were plenty of nights where we did eat the chicken. Like we would eat the chicken, we would eat the rice, we would eat the broccoli with her.
The woman, since you're basically saying, hey, since the woman you're in charge, you kind of need to say, you can kind of lead the I think the compass, however you want to use that, is your fuel. Like, hey, if the husband don't want to eat some healthier chicken, then he needs to fend for himself.
That's a possibility. Now, I know that that's not always the case. That was me growing up, and my mom did lead the charge on, my dad was going to eat whatever my mom cooked.
Yeah, whether it was
like he's just that kind of person.
Right.
So he would eat the country fried steak if she cooked it, but he would also eat the honey mustard chicken. She would get these sauces from Sam's that were like real low calorie. There was a point where we would just ask her, what kind of chicken are we having tonight? Like we just knew that's what we were eating. But if she was cooking, say, a country fried steak, just because she wanted some variety for us, she would still eat her chicken, rice, and broccoli or whatever it was that she was eating. When I was a stay-at-home mom and I was cooking for the family, I didn't have one of those husbands. I had one of those husbands that was like, you can eat like that, but don't expect me to eat like that.
Right.
So I wasn't going to let him dictate what I ate. So did it create a little bit of extra work for me? Yes, it did. But it was worth it for me to cook him something separate than what I cooked for myself. And yeah, I would make my kids eat most of what I was eating. But if I was eating, and I know y'all are going to think I'm crazy. Some of y'all may not think I'm crazy, but this is just what I did to stay on track with my goals. Is my meal was made. I knew what I was going to eat. So let's just use, because it's easy to say, chicken, rice, and broccoli. Okay. The husband who was telling me I'm not going to eat that way, he would eat, and yes, I would cook it for him, whatever it was that he was eating.
Hamburger Helper.
Hamburger Helper. That's a great example because he did love his Hamburger Helper. Yes, I would make beef stroganoff, Hamburger Helper. That's a great example. That's so funny you would say that because that is something that he would eat.
Yeah.
Then for the kids, I would make them eat the vegetables that I was eating and the carb source that I was eating. So they would eat the broccoli, they would eat the rice. And sometimes it was a cost thing. Like I was really trying to pinch pennies too. So it was more expensive to get the chicken breasts. And I would have a bag of dino nuggets in the freezer. So that was something very easy, very convenient that I could pop in the microwave. They would eat the broccoli, they would eat the rice, but instead of the grilled chicken that I had made for myself, they would eat the dino nuggets.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be aggravating and it can be time consuming and it can be extra work on you. But for me, it was worth it to keep me on track with my goals.
Yeah.
Now, if he wanted to jump on that train with me, I was more than happy to make that for him.
Yeah.
But he never was. And then it's kind of cool now to see the kids, they're now used to having vegetables. Yeah. My daughter Kara has just gone away to college and she's telling me that she wishes that they had more broccoli there. Mm-hmm. She's been eating a lot of asparagus. It's just cool to see that those habits that I instilled in them early on, they've carried through as they're getting on their own.
So yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode. So the kind of a recap, we got 4 months till January the 1st. How cool would it be to knock off 20 pounds and be ahead of the curve before January the 1st when the whole world's just getting started?
Yeah, just start taking some walks now.
Don't have to take extreme measures. No. There's so many, obviously, we discussed a lot of fun foods that you can use to bridge and act as like stepping stones. And just prep. I don't care what it is. Sit down with a pen and paper and start changing your days out, because things are not going to change for you health-wise until things change. I don't know how many times I got to tell that to people. The reason you're just getting up and you're in the routine of going through drive-thrus every morning, we need to change that. There's so many good options here in front of us that should be able to keep you at home or grab something still delicious, save you some money. I talked about that a while ago. They're $2 a piece if you break it down. Eat some fruit with it. So not only is it going to instill better habits in you, but it's going to save you over the course of a month, probably hundreds of dollars.
And it's way better food for your body.
Way better food for you, because you got to keep in mind why are you wanting to better yourself? You want to, how old are you right now? A lot of the people listening to this is in the 30s, 40s. You got that 100 pounds to lose or 80 pounds to lose. You're already kind of in the pre-diabetic mode. Blood pressure is already high. You just don't have enough energy. Come on, let's start changing some habits to start moving the compass in a better direction.
Yep.
So, anything else you want to add to this episode, Allie?
No, I'm just going to echo everything that you just said. Everything that you just said.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that you could get away with in your early years, through your 20s, 30s, possibly, I was still able to do a lot of stuff that once I hit 40, that was when my body was like, okay, we need to make some changes. If I could go back and do anything again, I would tell myself in my 30s, start making some of these changes now, and it'll be better for you in the long run.
Yeah, and if you're in your 30s or 40s, that's still young.
Oh, it is. I feel like I'm just now getting started.
You deserve to thrive. I promise you. This whole, just no energy and dealing with all these medical issues and giving your, you deserve a better life than that. I promise you. That's not normal. I think so many people are so used to just feeling like shit. They think that's normal.
Well, the only reason they think is normal is because everyone else around them is doing the same thing. Just because it's normal doesn't mean that it's right or good for you.
Yeah. So trust me, there's this life we're here on this earth is already, in my opinion, too short. You're not doing yourself any favors by, staying in the gear you're in. I promise you, you deserve better. We're giving you the tools, the information to start moving the compass in the right direction. It don't have to be perfect, but I'm real big on just instilling some things small that you can do every day to kind of start getting that ball rolling. So
I love it.
Appreciate you guys tuning in, and
thank you.
As always, drop a review, hit the subscribe button, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or iHeartRadio. There's got to be some kind of way you can give us a rating. We're trying to get those up a little bit. We don't do any kind of like ads or anything like that, so we're sheerly just relying on organic growth and word of mouth. So appreciate you guys doing that, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode. If you received any value from the show, please share, subscribe, and give us a rating.